Now when we talk of a quadratic equation, this is an equation of the form ax squared plus bx plus c. And this thing is an equation. Now, when you have ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, this one is a quadratic function. This is a quadratic function, this is a quadratic equation. Now, ax squared plus bx plus c is a general quadratic equation. For every quadratic equation, this is how it looks like. Where a, b, and c are all real numbers. The x squared you see here and the x here are always constant. The x squared and the x you see are always constant. But the coefficient of the x squared and the coefficient of x are numbers that will be given to you. So when you see an equation like this, it's a quadratic equation. When you see an equation, let's say x squared plus 2x, this is a quadratic equation. Because 0, this is a quadratic equation. When you see x squared is equal to 0, it's also a quadratic equation. But if the x, the first term of the x is not having the exponent of 2, then it ceases to be a quadratic equation. Then it is not a quadratic equation. It becomes a function, a linear function. Now what we are trying to say that if you have y is equal to ax plus b, this one is a function or is a linear function. But when you have y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, this one becomes a quadratic equation. Now to solve a quadratic equation, we have three methods of solving quadratic equation. Either by the factorization method, or the completing of squares method. And the last one is using the general quadratic formula. Using the general quadratic formula. So you start with the factorization method, then go to the completing of squares, then go to the general quadratic formula. And these are the only ways of solving a quadratic equation. Fine, calculator can also work for a quadratic equation, but you will not be asked in exam to use calculator. You will be asked to use your hands. So you need to learn how to find the solutions to every quadratic equation given to you. So you are going on for the first one, the factorization method. Factorization method is saying that if you are given a, let's say x squared plus 5x plus 6, and you be asked to factorize this. To factorize this, you are going to look for the factors of 6. Factors of 6. That's the product of AC. The coefficient here is 1. The coefficient here is 1. So you go by saying that the product of AC, that's A times C, that's 1 times 6, is 6. Now you find the factors of 6. The factors of 6 is 1, 2, 3, and 6. Now to find the factors of 6, just look for the numbers that can go into 6. And these numbers are 1, 2, 3, and 6 itself. You are going to pick 2 numbers from this point. Now those 2 numbers, when you add, you need to get 5. When you multiply, you need to get 6. And the 2 numbers here, that's when you multiply, you get positive 6. And when you add, you get positive 5. It's 2 and 3. So in place of 5x, I'm going to put 2 and 3. And that's how it is done. X squared plus 2x plus 3x plus 6. Now you can see that 3 plus 2 will give us 5. And 2x plus 3x will give us 5x. You still not change the question, just that we expanded this. And this thing means that 2 times 3 will give us 6. If 2 times 3 will give us 6, then make sure that 2 plus 3 should also give you 5. And when you're able to do this way, then you can go on by saying that you need to group these two groups. So we have x squared plus 2x in one bracket, 3x plus 6 in one bracket. You factor x out for this side. You factor x out, you are going to be left with x plus 2. You factor 3 out because the common factor here is 3. This is because 3 can go into 6. So we believe that the common factor here is 3. And this is not having x, so we cannot say that we need to factor x as well. No, x is only 1 here. And you can't factor x out. When you factor x out, it affects this thing. So you are going to be left with x here, 2. So our final answer is written as this plus 3 and x plus 2. Now always make sure that the next step you move away from here, make sure that the answer in the first bracket should be the same as that of that. So you need to get x plus 2 here and x plus 2 here. If it becomes different, then it means you are wrong. So this one should serve as a guideline for you. Anytime you are solving a quadratic, as soon as you get here, from here, as soon as you get it, make sure that the first thing you write here should be the same as the second thing you write here. So this is the answer to our quadratic equation here. Now with this same question, if you are asked to find the values of x, if you are asked to find the values of x, that will make this, or that will satisfy this equation. In this case, you are given equal to 0. Because you are given equal to 0, you go by the same thing, find the factors of 6. And for the factors of 6, we've seen that it's 1, 2, 3, and 6 itself. So you have x squared 2x plus 3x plus 6 is equal to 0. You have x plus 2 plus 3, x plus 2 equals 0. You have x plus 3, x plus 2 equals 0. Now I'm going to look at the values of x. So you are going to equate x plus 3 to 0, x plus 2 to 0. X is equal to 0 minus 3 is negative 3. 0 minus 2 becomes negative 2. So the values of x that will satisfy this equation is negative 3 and negative 2. Assuming you have to find the truth set. Assuming you have to find the truth set. For the truth set, right, x is such that x is equal to negative 3, x is equal to negative 2. That's when you have to find the truth set. But when the question is find the values of x that will make this equation true or make this equation equal to 0, it's negative 3 and negative 2. Now this thing means that when you put negative 3 here, you get 0. When you put negative 2 here, you get 0. And this is what we call the factorization method. First of all, you need to find the product of AC. After finding the product of AC, the coefficient here is 1, so 1 times 6 is 6. Find the factors of 6. You pick two numbers from it that one. Multiply, you get 6. When you add or subtract, you get 5. But here in our case, we have positive 5, so we need to add alone. So when you add 2 plus 3, you are going to get 5. So you work it out from there. Another question, let's see. So we have m squared plus m is equal to 12. And he has to find the truth set. To find the truth set of m, given this, you cannot solve it straight away unless you write it like this equation. We have m squared plus m, resolve this thing back, minus 12 is equal to 0. Now you still look for the factors of 12. That when you multiply, you get negative 12. When you subtract, you get 1. That's m. The coefficient of m is 1. For the product of AC, the coefficient here is 1. 1 times 12 is negative 12. So you have m squared plus 4m minus 3m minus 12 is equal to 0. Now 4m minus 3m will give us m. 4m times negative 3 will give us negative 12. So what do? You group these two, you factor m out, you will left it m plus 4. You factor, the common factor here is negative 3, you left with m plus 4 equals 0. So it's going to be left with m minus 3, m plus 4 is equal to 0. M minus 3 equals 0 becomes m is equal to 3, and m plus 4 equals 0 becomes m is equal to negative 4. So the truth set becomes m is such that m is equal to 3 and m is equal to negative 4, and that's the true set of this quadratic equation. M squared plus m is equal to 12. Another example. 2x squared plus 11x plus 9 is equal to 0. 2x squared plus 11x plus 9 is equal to 0. First of all, you find the product of AC. Now here A is 2 and C is 9. It is 2 times 9, which is what? 18. Now you find the factors of 18. The factors of 18 is 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, 18, 12. You pick two numbers from here, and those two numbers, make sure when you multiply you get 18, when you add you get 11. That's this number. So what number can we think of? We can think of 2 and 9. This is because 2 times 9 is 18 and 2 plus 9 is what? 11. So in place of 11x, we put 2x plus 9x, and our last number is plus 9. Make sure you don't put the negative, you don't put 18 here. No, we still work with this. Still work with the first 9. Don't put 18 there. Equals 0. So you group it this way. What do we have? Factor. The common factor here is 2. In terms of numbers, it is 2. In terms of variables, it is x. If we left it x here, because this is x squared, if we left it 1x plus 1. The common factor here is 9. X plus 1 equals 0. So you have 2x plus 9, x plus 1 equals 0. Now you equate this 2x plus 9 is equal to 0. X plus 1 is equal to 0. And all what you are doing, you are still under the factorization method. So 2x plus 9 equals 0. X is equal to negative 9 over 2. And you have x plus 1 equals 0, and x is equal to negative 1. But because, okay, we're not told to find the truth set, so you just leave your answer like that. X is equal to negative 9 over 2, and x is equal to negative 1. And this is the values of x that when you put it here, you get 0. When you put x here, you put x negative 1 there, you get 0. When you put x negative 9 over 2 there, you also get 0. Now let's go to the next one. Now to use the method of completing of squares, this method is very simple. Given any quadratic, ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. To use the method of completing of squares, the first thing is divide. We're going to divide through. We're going to divide the whole equation by the coefficient of the x squared by a. Now as you divide the whole equation by a, what are you going to get? You are going to get ax squared over a plus bs over a plus c over a is equal to 0 over a. Now you get x squared plus b over ax plus c over a is equal to 0. Second one, group all x on one side. When you group all x on one side, we have x squared plus b over ax is equal to negative c over what a. When c over a comes here, it becomes 0 minus c over a, which is negative c over a. Having done that, now the third step is find half the square of the coefficient of the x term. So I'm going to find half the square of this. So that's half times b over a all squared, and that's b over 2a all squared. Now after getting this, you add b over 2a on both sides of the equation. That's the first step. You add it on both sides of the equation. So first of all, you divide through by a. After dividing through by a, you are going to get x squared plus b on ax plus c over a is equal to 0. We are going to group all x on one side. When you group all x on one side, you are going to get something like this. After that, you find half the square of the coefficient of the x term. After that, you are going to add the result you get here on both sides of the equation. So let's take a first step. You have x squared plus 5x plus 6 is equal to 0. X squared plus 5x plus 6 is equal to 0. First of all, x squared plus 5x is equal to negative 6. The coefficient here is 1. The coefficient here is 1. So instead of dividing both sides by a, you divide both sides by 1. It is still the same thing. Secondly, you find half the square of this. So finding half the square of this becomes half times 5 all squared. So we have 5 over 2 squared. That's half the square of the coefficient of this. Now, after getting this, you add it to both sides of the equation. So what do we have? We have x squared plus 5x plus 5 squared is equal to negative 6 plus 5 like what we said here. Just find half the square of the coefficient of the x term. Having done that, you pick this and that, all this expression. Now this thing you see here means that this thing, when I add this to that, the square of x plus 5 on 2 squared will give me x squared plus 5x plus 5 on 2 squared. That's the number. So we are going to pick this and that. We have x plus 5 on 2 all squared is equal to negative 6 plus 5 on 2. Negative 6 plus 5 on 2 squared. So this is what we have. x plus 5 on 2 all squared is equal to negative 6 plus 5 on 2 squared. Now when you resolve this thing, we have negative 6 plus 25 over 4. Now you can resolve this thing. Negative 6 plus 5 on 4 plus 25, negative 6 over 1 plus 25 over 4. This one is the same as 25 over 4 minus 6 on 1. The LCM is 4, 4 goes here 1, we have 25 minus 24, so we have 1 over 4. So we have x plus 5 over 2 all squared is equal to 1 over 4. Now what are we looking for? We are looking for x. So what you are going to do is that square root both sides. This cancels that. We have x plus 5 over 2 is equal to root of 1 over 4. X is equal to plus or minus 5 over 2. Oh, sorry, x is equal to, when this thing comes in, it becomes negative 5 over 2 plus or minus 1 over 4 under the root sign. Now, this root you see here, we have negative 5 on 2 plus or minus. This becomes root of 1 root of 4. We have negative 5 on 2 plus or minus. The square root of 1 is 1 and the square root of 4 is 2. So, we are going to work negative 5 on 2 plus 1 on 2 as one answer, and we work negative 5 on 2 minus 1 on 2 as another. So I'm going to treat each one. So what we have here is x is equal to negative 5 on 2 plus 1 over 2, and x is equal to negative 5 on 2 minus 1 over 2. So we have x is equal to the LCM of 2 and 2 is 2. 2 goes here 1. We have negative 5 plus 1. And we have negative 4 over 2. And what do we have here? The LCM of 2 and 2 is 2. So we have negative 5 minus 1. That's the second x. And that's negative 6 over 2. So x is equal to negative 2. And x is equal to negative 3. That's it. So anytime we have to complete a certain square, just find have the coefficient of the x term, but make sure that you square it. And after squaring it, make sure you add it to both sides.